Welcome to the Fandom Outpost, your podcast for all things pop culture.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Fandom Outpost. Welcome back, or welcome for the first time. As always, I'm 1/3 your host. My name is Mark.
And I'm Jim.
And I'm Bob. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today.
And today we are going to talk about a really, really cool film called
Alien Romulus, the new installment by Fede Alvarez. He did Don't Breathe and Evil Dead Remake, the Evil Dead Remake. Don't Breathe is actually not bad. I like that one. I watched it. Where should we start as far as in the lore of everything, like where it fits in? I know it takes place between Alien and Aliens. It's kind of in between there.
Let me ask you guys a question. So when you go to an Alien movie of this franchise, what are you looking for in an Alien movie?
Well, we're looking for people that are being stalked by the alien in some haunted house fashion.
So you're looking for
Ridley Scott. We love you.
You're looking for a xenomorph. You're looking for them to maybe add something. Facehuggers, and this one delivered on that. You're looking for them to add something new to the lore. Maybe you're looking for a little more about the Weyland-Yutani company. You know, that's always ever present in everything.
Yeah. I think at this point, though, the Weyland-Yutani thing is overdone only because, no disrespect, Mr. Scott, those first two movies, like it was so heavy Weyland-Yutani. And we were talking about that off camera about the lore of Prometheus setting up the universe that aliens play in, I guess. I mean, that's what we were talking about.
Apparently, there's only one company in the universe that aliens play in, and it's Weyland-Yutani.
Oh, by the way, this will probably be spoilers, folks, as usual. So, here's what thing. Fede, is that how we're going to say it?
Yeah.
Fede Alvarez. So when I first heard that, and I knew kind of who he was and stuff, I said, "Oh man, I so hope if it goes back to its air quotes horror roots," because Alien, 1979's Alien, had this. Jim, what'd you say? Like this methodical, slow burn stalking thing where around every corner it could be.
Siskel and Ebert, they classified it as like a haunted house movie in space.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So
I just think that it's the horror aspect is, well, in this one in particular, it's in the forefront versus the sci-fi. Although it's very sci-fi heavy. There's a lot of sci-fi in this one.
Yeah, it looks wonderful. The world is wonderful looking. I mean, they did a great job in the production of it.
My sound, real quick, was every time an engine came on or something, the sound of my theater went overboard. Like it must have been set up a certain channel because, like, you know, when they went up down the elevator or they fired up the engines, it was like, it gave me a jolt because it was so loud, and not like Dolby Atmos loud, just loud. And I was like, oh my God. And that kind of freaked me out every time they did something like that. I was ready for a jump scare. What were you saying about Ridley Scott?
Well, his hand is certainly on this movie, right? He was a producer.
Yeah.
And they stayed true to his universe. Everything looked like it belonged in the universe. But this movie has the second most amount of fan service since Deadpool and Wolverine, right?
Yeah.
And we'll have to just kind of touch on that aspect because that seems to be the biggest problem. That and that the characters do dumb things. So
why
that's
is
kind
that
of the two complaints I've heard of this.
Okay, so dive into it. Why is that the biggest problem, though? It literally takes place between two of the franchise's movies.
I thought
like you're going to have some aspects of it. Right.
Well, there's fan service, and then there's... So when I say his hand is on it, it's not like he's gently guiding it. Think of the scene in Young Frankenstein where they're telling Victor Frankenstein that he hasn't touched his dinner, and he goes, "There, I touched it. Are you happy?" That's what it feels like Ridley Scott did. He was like, "You want xenomorphs? Here's xenomorphs. You want face huggers. Here's face huggers.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah, I did not expect a Young Frankenstein reference.
So it's a little heavy-handed at times. Dialogue was terrible. Some of the dialogue fan service was.
Hopefully by the time you get to us, folks, you've seen every movie in the franchise, because apparently nothing is out of bounds. It's all within the same timeline. In fact, Ridley Scott, if you're not careful, you're venturing into Star Wars territory with your movies. If all these things are going to go into the timeline, because I guarantee with the box office from this movie, somebody's going to be like, we need to get this guy onto a sequel to this. But if he's smart, he's going to be like, I'm not doing a sequel to that. I'll do something else and set it in a different timeline, or not a different timeline, but I guess further down or whatever, give him something else to play with. Because the problem with Prometheus, Ridley Scott, or the critics, they were like, what's he doing? This is not an alien movie to us. Even though it had stuff at the end, it just was out there. So what does he do? He does a J.J. Abrams, and he course corrects everything to the nth detail with Covenant, because that's an alien movie.
He tripled down.
Yeah, public standards would go. And first of all, folks, we're talking about this off the air. I don't have a problem with Covenant. So anybody had a problem with it? That's what you wished for that. You said he didn't deliver in Prometheus. He delivered big time in that. So there you go. But who knows? Anyway, back to Romulus. So here, we'll do this briefly. Okay. It's about a brother and sister, interestingly enough, who have some friends who are basically like, just rogue people just hanging out, trying to get a better life. They want a better life for themselves, especially the sister, Rain. I guess that's how you say it. And their friends say, hey, there's a derelict spaceship, 70,000 meters up. Let's go check it out. We get some cryopods. We can go to this paradise, as they're referring to it. Sunshine all around. That's it. That's the simple premise. And it becomes a heist movie.
It's basically a theft caper movie. They're basically trying to steal
cryopods,
pods to get out of the oppression of Weyland-Yutani. So it's also kind of like an immigration story too, a bit, where they're trying to immigrate to a better land. They're trying to get to a better.
I know. I'm just playing with you.
No, you're right. To get to a better place,
right?
It's safer and more. Looks like they're not really free as much as they'd like to be on that planet they're on for being oppressed by Weyland.
Yeah, there's a weird scene with her. She's got enough credits to get off the planet, and some fucking bureaucrat.
Yeah, she did her time. Yeah.
Yeah, like right there at the table, which is weird. She's like, no, you don't have enough. They changed the rules, blah, blah, blah. Like, that made me feel uncomfortable. Like, I was really angry at that moment. Like, what are you? You're a paper pusher,
Yeah, you could feel for her, right?
You literally changed the course of this girl's life. So I was like, all right, I'm all in. Go screw the company over.
You mentioned the brother, who is Andy, who's a sim, right? An android. And I'm going to say it right now. He's probably my favorite character this summer in film.
Yeah, I loved him.
Really
he was great.
That guy. I thought he was a great character. I liked his arc.
Quick question for you two gentlemen, along the Andy lines. Did you guys know anything going in? Spoilers or anything? You keep it all free and clear?
No, I literally closed my eyes in the movie theater when I saw Deadpool Wolverine, because the trailer started up. I didn't want to see anything about this.
Gotcha.
So I've been
Bob,
dodging.
did you know anything?
Just the trailer, and
yeah.
I'm going to say also right now is that it's almost impossible to be on the internet nowadays to not find out a general feeling or spoilers on a new movie that's hitting theaters. Like, people are just ridiculous with their avatars on YouTube. It's like you're just scrolling through and it's like, this movie sucks. It's like, Jesus. Well, now I kind of bummed out a little bit or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, I just cannot go on. I know they're going to don't go on the internet. Well, you can't go on anything then.
I know.
For like a week.
Very hard to resist scrolling through YouTube when something says all 131 Easter eggs explained for Alien Romulus. I'm always like, okay. But
Well,
I did. I avoided all of it. This is a
that
rarity.
new
for
Crow
me.
movie. It's getting hammered already on just the thumbnails, and I'm like, well, that movie must not be very good. It's like everyone's hammering it on.
They did not need to make that. We can't even go down that
I
road.
know,
I don't
but
want
I'm
to go
just
down
saying
that road.
thumbnails
Right.
kind of ruin it.
Thumbnails
Come on,
get you.
people,
Yeah.
give us at least a week. So it's impossible to go in totally cold. It's hard to do, I should say, to go in totally cold. But I tried to go in as cold as I could on this, and wanted to see it the first weekend because I didn't want it to get totally spoiled. So, I mean, I'm glad they didn't spoil the ending, because at least there
Right.
was something that wasn't in the trailer, and we'll get to that.
I read something from a guy that he was talking about that, but he was courteous enough not to spoil it. But his words while he's doing it, I was more intrigued, because he's like, you think it ends, then it doesn't, then it goes completely 360. I'm like, oh my God.
You mentioned Star Wars, and I did get a Rogue One feel from this movie with not only the female character, but some of the liberal use of CGI. Let's just say, as far as AI characters.
Right.
You mean towards the end of the movie?
No,
Toward the middle.
I think, again, everyone, spoilers abound here. So
certain deceased actors come back.
Yeah, I was watching somebody talk about that afterwards, and he said it really took him out of the movie. And I really like this guy on YouTube. I watch him, and he said it took him out of the movie. And like, why didn't they get? But here's what angered me: he must not have paid attention, because he's like, why didn't they ask like at least Lance Henriksen or somebody else? And I was like, because of the timeline, you moron.
Right, because of the timeline.
And here's a guy who's smart and he reviews stuff and he's really good, but to miss that footnote,
right?
Like, why have that guy in it? Because it's the timeline. They haven't invented the other ones yet.
Right.
It's 57 years that Ripley is still out in space. It'll be another 57 years before somebody finds her. So
and I give them kudos for going for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The tech
in the
is-
long
tell,
run,
tell the folks what we're talking about, I guess.
We find a torso of a synthetic on the space station,
Remus, yeah, on the space
Remus,
station,
and they're
yeah.
really like
Romulus,
not showing
sorry.
his face, not showing his face,
Yeah.
and then they set him up
Not
on a
showing
table,
his
and
face.
his profile actually looks like Lance Henriksen,
That's what I thought at first, but laying on the
Because-
ground, I thought it was Henriksen.
and then.
Okay.
Because you're equating like Bishop, half of Bishop, because that's
Right.
we've seen that
Right.
before.
Yep.
And they toss him on the table and they hook him up, and it's the late Ian Holm that you would recognize
Well,
as Ash from the first
Yeah,
movie.
there you go.
Right.
Yeah, and he does refer to himself as Ash. He's an earlier model, even.
He calls himself Rook, which
Right.
doesn't make sense because he's not Bishop. Or maybe he's the middle step in between Bishop and.
Right. He's probably
So
just another
for
model or whatever.
80% of the time, it looks okay. There's
Yeah.
the uncanny valley where it doesn't jive, and I guarantee you, either by now or within a week, there's going to be some couple guys on YouTube that are going to have fixed it. With their home computers, like they fixed all the Luke Skywalker stuff.
Kind of had like a weird forehead. It was like his
Head was
bigger.
yeah, it was misproportioned or whatever the angle was.
It was really
at.
round. It was football. Somebody
Yeah.
described it like Stewie from Family Guy.
Right.
Like it kind
So-
of, a little bit more compact, a little bit more rounded. So,
And
I
it's
don't know.
funny, having watched just recently Alien 3, that whole effect was done better with a puppet. Now, granted, the puppet had less to do.
Yeah, the
Then
bishop.
he didn't have to crawl all over the comms and be mobile, but there's a way around that. When he was a face on the computer screen, Rook looked fine.
It was just a little. It was a little much.
Fine tuned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was done with the permission of the family, so I appreciated it when I saw it. Yeah.
It didn't ruin the movie for me. It didn't take me out. The fact
No.
that he was in it so much, it was very interesting, but I guess there's no real representation of Wayland Yutani. So if you're going to have a story about that and it's all going to go to shit, you kind of got to have that. Or it would have worked if they just had some corporate sleaze or something like that. You know what I mean? They could have.
Sure.
So, like introduce us to a new character. That's what I feel that people are kind of at fault again. But it's the science division, folks. If you go back to 79's Alien, it's the science division that wants this weapon. Right. How they've ever come across it, I don't know. Apparently the origin is in this movie, which is weird. You know what I mean? But they knew about it in Alien.
Right. Well, they have a Prometheus canister.
Yeah. Or Covenant canister, whatever it was. Yeah.
You're led to believe that the science division has been playing around with it on the space station, which is what caused the space station's demise.
Right. I would have been extremely happy if Michael Fassbender's David would have been.
That would have been great.
The thing. That would be like tie me into the first two and then just go somewhere else, and do a Terminator. Show like a program or something that says Ash on it so you know what would be coming, or you know what I mean? I don't know. It just Ash has to work, or excuse me, Rook, because like it's literally in between the two movies, and that's the model. Like whatever happened to the David model. And they mentioned it, if you pay attention, they mentioned that incident, the goo and stuff. Like they tie it in. He ties it in when they talk about it, but
they tried to tie it all in.
You got to listen to Ian Holmes or Rook's character explain all of the first two movies and stuff and what they're trying to do. So
could it have been just another actor? I mean, would we complain if it was just a new?
No, you just would have said it was a synthetic.
No.
We just, they kind of went the extra mile, I thought.
That's done for the fans. That's fan service.
Yeah, and they're tying it in. Like if he wants to stick to that timeline of what they know or what the public knows, then he's not drifting too far. Because, folks, trust me, at the end of the movie, he drifted.
So, in the opening credits, where we find the wreckage of the Nostromo.
Yeah,
right.
Is that correct?
Yep.
What is? And then they find
fossilized.
What is it fossilized in?
I guess a piece of the ship or something that blew up. I don't know.
Maybe it
crawled
acid.
onto a rock and died. Yeah, I don't.
It's acid, it could have.
Like they show the grapple hook.
Yeah,
through its
just
body.
To make sure it's the one.
Yeah, so they show that, and then they show the fossilization inside the rock.
Yes,
and then if you listen to the dialogue,
it got into the.
Well, I don't think they were expecting to find a specimen. There's some talk or some dialogue about they were expecting DNA or something like that they could extract, but they found a specimen. So that helped them a lot, I guess. I'm still unclear how you get eggs. Like, I'm not clear about the eggs in the movie and how they were able to process them.
Can we explain, or can you guys explain to me the life cycle of an alien? Because I know you need the queen to lay the egg, right?
Queen lays an egg.
The face hugger. Face hugger lays an egg. The little alien comes out, and then it grows into the large xenomorph, right?
Yeah, they're drone soldiers, but every now and then, because Ripley in 3 had a queen inside her, so the eggs can produce queens, and that's what they were trying for. They want Wayland Yutani wants a queen, so it can produce all these soldiers for off-world something. I don't know. So that's kind of the life cycle that they're hoping to get a queen with all this. But I just don't know how they produced all those face huggers, because they're in stasis. They're in a vacuum form thing.
Shell.
We didn't see eggs or queen or anything like that.
Well, I'm led to believe that it's science division has been genetically modifying these creatures up there. Hence the 1 minute life cycle of an alien when it gets implanted in you.
Yeah.
That girl gets a chest burster and like 2 minutes later it's coming out.
Yeah, thank God it was after Alien, or else fans would riot that. Yeah. So at least you can explain that away and said they've doctored it enough, and shedding the skin very quick. Very quick.
Now we did for the first time get to see a xenomorph come out of its womb case as a full
It's a full
So
drone.
they added that.
Not bad.
And I found, just from reviewing the films, I found one xenomorph much scarier than 7 xenomorphs.
Yeah, it goes back to aliens.
Yeah, because 7 xenomorphs, it's just a problem you have to solve. 1, it's stalking you.
Well, that's the greatest scene for me. I mean, there's a couple, but one was the dude when it. I don't know all their names, folks. Sorry. What's the brother's name?
Andy.
Andy.
Right.
Andy would not open the door. He wouldn't open the door. And he said that's what it wants us to do. And literally, the camera had this beautiful shot over the shoulder and from Andy's view inside the door of the alien perched while that girl's screaming, waiting for them to open the door. To me, that was a brilliant scene. So it does have intelligence. Maybe not the greatest, but it has problem-solving intelligence, like the raptors in Jurassic Park, problem-solving. So I thought that was really cool that they showed that. He's like, no, I'm not going to open the door because we'd all be dead. You know what I mean?
They did make mention to the one crew member that was giving Andy a hard time. His backstory of why he didn't like synthetics was because a synthetic had to make that choice of protecting the more than the few. Right. So
it's too bad though. They went over the top with that guy and they picked him as he's going to be unlikable. Right. Like he could have been like that
a little bit,
and there could have been that cool redemptive moment.
Yeah, he was a little heavy-handed.
Yeah, and then if you take him out, you might be like, "Oh, okay."
You guys caught that he's the father of the pregnant woman's baby, right?
Yeah.
The kind of implied that.
Yeah.
Well, that she was pregnant with him, and she was keeping it from the brother. And
right. She'd want to know. Yeah.
Now you mentioned the fact that we don't know their character names, and I think that's one of the problems with some of these newer Alien movies is that we don't really get to know some of these characters. Like you could name, half a dozen off of Aliens, Hicks,
right,
Alvarez, Apone. You know them. And it's not as easy to name these characters nowadays with the newer ones because you just don't get attached to them. They don't flesh them out as much. Excuse the pun.
Yeah, outside of Rain and Andy, they have the depth of a video game character.
Yeah, literally a girl who's pregnant just lays on the cot all day, until the plot decides that she's got to get in the game,
Right. Well, they thought it would be an easy operation, right? They just thought it would be an in and out. Get our stuff and leave and get to the new, but then it turns into a shit show.
Yeah, the only thing that saves it, in my opinion, is that there are intercut scenes that, even though it turns to a shit show, like you just said, Bob, it pulls you in. It's like, oh, okay, that's different. I haven't seen that before. This has ramped up the tension. I haven't seen that before. So, Jim, going way back to the beginning, what you said, what do we want out of it? When it gives us something more. I'm going to tell you the truth. Something more is walking through that fucking room of face huggers. That's something more.
Something more. Yeah, you've upped your game, right?
Yeah, any fear of bugs or anything.
Floating through the acid was cool.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's another one. So, and you know what, Bob? I would have to disagree with. I know it's not your comment, but you're saying people are saying that they do dumb things. There are people in here that do extraordinarily smart things.
Yeah.
The whole raising the station to our body temperature, that's an incredibly smart thing.
Yeah,
Shooting it with no gravity, that's an incredibly smart thing. Like there are things in here that are extremely smart to combat these things that the original Nostromo crew never could have thought of.
I would argue against that point too. I don't fully agree with they're all doing dumb things.
I really love. I love the plot device
I agree with you.
That they had with being able to upgrade Andy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was great.
That's another new that we haven't seen before, right?
Yeah, and then he wouldn't let him take it out until he did that whole I got fucked up at the end or whatever. Yeah,
right.
That's great.
His directives change, and I love how he kind of changes his demeanor when now he's for the company. He's got to do everything for the company.
Right.
And then she gets it out of him, and he goes back to being the good brother again. His main directive was to protect Rain. So yeah.
Well, do what's best for Rain. That's the words. It's the father programmed it to do what's best for Rain, not protect her, but it's do what's best for her. You know, and then the fact that she changes that at the end, I loved it, but I was also like, damn, why didn't she just do that like way back? You know what I mean? She could have done that before, but whatever. I mean, I liked her as a final girl, you know, yay.
Yeah.
Like,
I like
she's
her.
She's a great final
capable,
girl.
right? She wasn't
overly like can do everything perfect.
Well, she learned on the job, folks. That's what I like about it.
Yeah.
She just went up there and she hung back for a lot of it until it was time for her not to hang back. And she's like, I got to do this, you know?
Yeah.
Only thing that I do have a complaint with is, and it's a heartstrings. She went back for Andy, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, why? Like when the plot is convenient for them to kill a sim, then they kill it. Meaning like an alien will attack one, no problem. But when it's not convenient, then it doesn't do it. Like, you know, does that show great intelligence that it was leaning over its head and was like, he's not a threat. He's on the ground. I'll just leave. Kill it anyways. Tear it up, you know? So to me, that was too convenient of a plot point.
Well, they probably don't see it as a useful thing in their ecosystem. They can't plant an egg in it. They can't do it. You know, it's not useful, I guess. That's the only way I can explain it, I guess.
But if it has intelligence, it could perceive it as a threat. So why wouldn't it eliminate it? Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. And then she sacrificed everything to go get it. I'm like, I don't know about that.
So are we all on the same page as far as maybe 2 minutes of callbacks won't ruin 118 minutes of the movie? But pretty much, that's kind of
not at all.
Yeah, I felt I enjoyed the movie. A few callbacks got a little too much.
The only one I hated was the get away from her one.
If he would have just ended at get away from her, I would have been fine with it.
Right.
Sounds like, don't say it. Don't say it.
That's because it's out of character, and it's like, why would you say that? You know, we had pulse rifles that were, you know, that was a nice callback.
That was a cool where they're showing her how to use it. I love that callback. That was a neat little.
Yeah, which is weird because it's before the timeline. It's before Alien, so. I wish they would have done the pulse rifles, designed them a little bit differently. Like this is the Model A1,
maybe.
Yeah, something. You know, it's before like mixed aliens. Remember when they had that fire one with the canister that Yaphet Kotto used? Make some form of stuff. Yeah, like it's just really cool. You know, like come up with something a little bit new. Not a callback seems weird.
Looks like it was just painted white, basically. This looks like a different.
And for us who are paying attention to the timeline, then it doesn't add up. It's like, okay, so they created these things already, and then that's the model that the Marines adopted. When you get to
a lot of this,
I don't have a problem with it.
A lot of this movie had me feeling like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's all, you know, he's doing the
whistling.
Yeah, the whistling.
Yeah. He's all, I gotcha. Yeah. That's funny. So, that's a good one. Stuff. I would. I think we all agree. Like, I love the movie. It's weird that I'm going to say that. Like, I'm so strongly a proponent of it. I'm so glad it went back to the roots of horror because it is a lot more. It's just set in space.
I don't think you were going to say that because you texted a little bit about the callbacks. And I'm like, he doesn't like it because of the callback.
No, I had time to think about it, and they don't take you out of the movie. And if you're young enough that you don't live that, we're old enough that we've lived that. So it's too bad Stefan couldn't be on here. He sat there and he came out of it with different viewpoints that were not based on those movies because he didn't live through that. And I was like, Jesus.
I'd love to hear the younger generation, how they feel about it.
He focused more on the ending. That was what drew him in. All the other stuff was just, this was great, that was great, this was great, having no references. Even though you see Alien, I mean, given his age group, 25 years after it came out, you know what I mean? So he had some good viewpoints about that. The ending fucked him up.
Well, we'll get to that in one moment. A few more things before we get to the end. I'd like to end things on that ending, but I did like the music. The music score was nice. I loved some of the themes. Kind of pricked my ears up when I heard some of the themes. I thought that was kind of cool. They brought some of the old stuff.
Yeah, that one theme from Alien is really good. Like when you show space. I don't know. We'd have to find out the name of it and stuff. Right. But your ears would perk up for that if you watch Alien. Not aliens, but alien. You know what I mean?
No, they used it. Actually, they used it in Covenant the other day too.
Did they?
I was watching it. Yeah, they threw it in there.
Okay.
It's like, oh, nice. The Goldsmith stuff's coming back. So
yeah, like
yeah,
that,
it's
really
a spooky
good
tone, right?
Yeah, it's like the whistle or the high. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I get it. I mean, it's like wow. So
I got one question for you guys about Prometheus, and this is just a little side quest because I watched that prior to this taping.
Okay.
If the engineers were supposedly made the humans using the goo or whatever, no,
Yeah,
they would, because they put a sacrificial engineer on the planet.
Yep,
He'd
he
drink
the goo.
His DNA
Yep.
would go in and create life.
Yeah. Yep.
Why were they going back to destroy mankind?
They never answer that. That you can troll the internet and YouTube. There's no answer for that except that they're upset at their creation. Is that because we make war and all that stuff? Yeah. Ridley Scott didn't answer that. He hasn't really put that out there. So it's like, okay, well, that's left to debate. You know what I mean?
Becomes the whole kind of crux for what happens, basically.
So with Prometheus and later Covenant, there are stuff that didn't make it to the theatrical releases that you actually have to dive into if you want to figure it out. Because Elizabeth Shaw, is that who it is? Is that Numi Rapace? Yeah. And she's briefly in Covenant. And she would have been in Covenant, but they cut the scenes out. And so David, the entire time, this is what they say, he's the one that's engineering a queen. Because when you get to Covenant and he's got all that stuff in his little cave, he did all of that by experimenting on Dr. Shaw, which to me, I fucking hate that, dude. Like the fact that Ridley Scott returned to the one thing that pisses off fans with Alien 3.
Oh God, yeah, that's the whole thing that this franchise irritates me the most is that they kill off cool characters in such an unceremonial way
and off screen. And the one with Covenant, you don't know about it because it never appeared. You know, so you'd have to get all the Blu-ray and deleted scenes, but apparently that's what David's been up to. And how that information gets to Wayland Yutani, I don't know, because Dr. Wayland is dead by the time we get to Alien. You know what I mean? So the guy who originally set up the company is dead. So David is the one that's kind of been engineering all this crap. And we didn't even get to the Queen until Aliens. You know what I mean? So it's just weird. There's kind of a weird little timeline. That's why I thought, man, it'd be cool to have Fassbender show up to tie in the original trilogy. But Alvarez did it pretty good.
I thought they set this film between Alien and then the Alien game. There was like a computer game.
Alien Isolation?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Ripley's daughter. That's because it's Ripley's daughter in her prime before she turned into an old woman in Aliens. Yeah.
Right.
That game is pretty intense, by the way, too. If you haven't played it, my daughter played it.
I watched some stuff.
Yeah, dude.
It was looking really
dude, that's crazy. That's like Alien. Yeah, that's a crazy one.
So much like Alien, we get the countdown and the strobing lights and the, you have to set the timer before everything goes to hell, right?
Yeah.
Because they were going to crash into the rings of the planet, right?
Yes, they're above the rings of planet, which was new.
Yeah, an outside threat, which I liked. Like they were like, if you watch that, it came out of nowhere. They were like, "What? What's about to happen?" They're like, "We got to get out of here." 30 minutes or whatever it was.
Because of some actions earlier in the film, it pushed the thing that they were on closer to the rings. Oh, we got a little more of what it looks like to pull a face hugger off a person.
That was nasty.
With that tube down their throat.
I'm not kidding,
that was new.
Folks. You'll never know this, folks. I was trying to get through this whole thing without mentioning that. It's the one thing I wasn't going to mention. Because that is fucking gross. Oh, my God. Who was that on? Who did they pull that off
That was
of?
the first... the
pilot.
The woman with the shaved head, yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah, but they got to her anyways. Right?
That was a cool thing with the light, with the X-ray light.
Yeah, that was cool.
It shows what's inside of her. It's in the trailer.
Right.
That was a neat thing, and also the acid going through the body, which you saw a little bit in. I think Resurrection had a scene I noticed of some acid going through somebody, but
Right.
you don't really see that too often. I thought that was an interesting little.
So our pregnant cast member
Kay
is
her name.
Okay.
who's been kind of sidelined this whole thing because she's been sick. They get her to a stasis pod, then they leave her, and then they go do some other stuff, and then some not great things happen to her. And I want to say that's that actresses, if you guys had ever seen, I don't know why you would sit and watch it, but the movie version of Dora the Explorer, which is actually super well done. I think that's that actress.
I did see that connection. I looked it up.
That's actually a really well done movie. So
that bad wig though on that poor actress, man. Before you go down that road, that's your Prometheus and Covenant connection. That chamber of things that she will inject herself with, that is the tooled and retooled stuff from David.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That supposedly now is perfected. I don't know about that.
Right. They're thinking it's an inoculation against
something,
to
whatever it is.
Regenerate or heal you.
Yeah,
right?
to heal.
They have
heal her.
That little gerbil or whatever.
Yeah, yes. Stefan missed that because we saw it together, and he missed that. He missed that briefest of scenes on the monitor where it exploded. Like he didn't see that. So at the end, he was like, "What's happening to her?"
They come around the cage at some point, and it's all splayed open. Looks like the thing.
Yeah, that's right.
It worked at first, and then it went awry.
Right. So they.
But all the tests. That's another plot point that I have problem with. This is the science department. Like I know Ash or Rook wanted to get that more than anything, but like they would know what it could do. So they're flat out lying about it. You know what I mean? Like it's
100%.
He knows what it is, and it's just like, no, you could do this, and it would be great. But he probably doesn't want to get that into the stasis chamber because, as they showed us, sorry, Jim,
that's all right.
Pull this from you. That alarm went off when there was distress or a problem. We'd never seen that before. That was new. Okay. So somehow the science division would have to fix that because Ripley in Aliens says about Burke when he tries that, he'll put us into tubes and freeze us till we get home. You know what I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So clearly that's different technology or, do whatever, because this particular movie, Romulus, showed that when there's a problem with the body and you're in stasis, it kicks you out. And that's what it did to her. So I don't know. That was a weird one.
And then she gives birth.
Ooh, I probably shouldn't laugh. I probably shouldn't laugh at that. Yeah.
To put it mildly, yikes! I mean, that was like a trigger warning, I would think, for some people. That was just it was a pretty explicit, nasty scene.
Oh my god, dude! You know what? Yeah. It is the 100th equivalent. Like it is. How would you explain that? Where it's like the chest burster, but times 100.
Yeah, in a normal birth atmosphere. Yeah, it was not pleasant, and she
lives
it.
She survives. You're right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
And this egg comes out, right, and we see that it's like a humanoid form, right, inside this pod that she gives birth to.
Right.
Yeah.
It just sounds nasty talking about it. So what happens, Jim?
Oh, so I don't know. He births out of the egg, and it's part the father, part engineer, part Mark Zuckerberg, part
xenomorph.
Xenomorph, and it's freaky looking, why'd you
pick Zuckerberg? I mean, I guess it does. Dude, there's this tall guy in basketball or something that the memes all over the internet are just killing it because it was like, oh, I didn't know he survived, and it just has footage of this guy who plays basketball. Oh my god, the creature from Romulus survived.
Mark, we literally sat next to a guy in the theater that was that tall.
Oh my god. Oh, it is. It's really disturbing. Like
off-putting.
it's you know what it is? It's video game horror after that. It's like, oh my God, this thing is chasing
But there was
me and
an
it's
actor who
gangly.
played that.
Oh my God, Jeff Jones or Doug Jones?
No,
That's the only guy I could think of that would do it.
Yeah,
There was
we'll put him in the video. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Where I would have thought immediately,
Trigger
I thought, oh,
warning.
this guy's all CGI, and he wasn't all CGI. So,
Yeah.
He may have been helped with some.
oh,
maybe,
he was
I don't know.
100% help with the CGI, but
There was something funky going
Right.
on. 'Cause he
Well,
was
I
all
think-
like weird, like all like off and stuff.
twisted.
and
Yeah.
it was just weird. But I was like, oh, cool. This is something I didn't know was going to happen. It wasn't in the trailers. No one talked about it. It was a surprise. I was like, this is cool. It's a little, I know they're trying to connect into the Prometheus era movies, but it was interesting. I thought it was interesting.
It was a great scene it was a great sequence that you would, instead of a xenomorph chasing you, this lady's abomination. Yeah. And like what we were questioning, me and Stefan, was like the mouth thing. It was teeth, but it like
He was looking to breastfeed her, was what he was looking to do, which,
I wasn't sure, but
I wasn't
that
either
was what-
because he attached it, but he didn't. If you
I
look,
thought it was
he
like in
didn't-
here.
Yeah, it got on
Oh.
her neck, so he really was
Okay.
pulling that nutrients. But you know what, Fede Alvarez, thank God somebody didn't go that route and say this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah,
And we're going to happen upon that. That would have been too much. I think it would have been too much for people. And was he just trying to kill after that? Like he's got the
just the same
engineer alien in
Yeah.
him. He's just got to
Yeah.
kill,
Yeah.
So he's going to go kill. Like the horror thing for me is my dark mind went like, oh, if he gets a hold of the other girl, he's going to do that to her as well. Like
Right.
he's going to
Yeah.
suck the nutrients. So this guy's like a space vampire. Like it's
A
terrible.
Yeah, it was something. You're right.
Folks, go ahead and look up Buck Rogers Vorvon.
Yeah.
It's in our TV episode, actually. What we watched as kids. You can
Yes.
pull that episode up.
Fucking Vorvon. Oh
So
my God.
the ending of the movie is us trying
Yeah.
to get rid of him, and the various ways we try to do that. Get off the ship before it crashes into the rings.
And you think it's the xenomorphs, like that whole, like I love that they held out the gravity thing till the end. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's your climax. So it has two climaxes, folks. I mean, it really does, and the off the rails one after is just brilliant decision making and filmmaking. Whoever came up with that, like we're going to do this scene, which is reminiscent of maybe your Aliens, which is awesome. Oh, okay, they made it. And then we're going off the
Nope.
rails, which is
Yep.
like, yeah, you're like 20 minutes later, you're like, oh my God, that was brilliant. So kudos to them.
So Rain survives, right? Rain survives.
Rain
and So does
survives.
Andy.
But there's a heartfelt moment that I really love where she changes the thing in Andy. Her new protocol is what's best for us.
Right.
Yeah, and I thought that was
Oh,
awesome.
and the big
I'll-
big plot point is that the place that they're going to doesn't allow synthetics.
and at the end she's like, "Fuck it, I don't care."
Her friends were planning on leaving him.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was
a
the
rough
thing.
one.
Yep. And
Yeah.
at the end, she's like, "No, I'll take my chances." And so they head on out to deep space, right? Like they're our next. I don't know who
knows?
they'd be our next stuff. Yeah, but are we going to watch another one with them too? Yeah, probably. But they can't keep getting into shenanigans. You know what I mean? Pass the torch to somebody else now.
Right.
So that if
Somebody
they're going to
else.
do a sequel to this one, follow them going to wherever. Do you want to have something tag along in the ship? Yeah, why not? There's so much that could have gone wrong with that something could have got on the ship.
Yeah,
Could
it
be a
was
face
hasty
hugger.
exit, so
Like,
right.
Yeah, who knows, man? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had to get that ship out of the bowels of the other ship, the Remus,
Right.
where that dude crashed it. So they had to get that thing out of there. So yeah. And the practical effects, kudos, man. 5 stars out of 5 stars. I've never seen face huggers that have scared me more than these basically giant spiders running
These are
along the floor.
the scorpion face huggers, what they're calling this. So
One of the best things about it, folks, is that they're scary, but they're not like the dude's got a shovel, right? He's just batting them off. If you could see him jumping at you, you know what I
they're
mean?
not unkillable.
So Yeah, they're not unkillable. So I like how there was a fight against them, even though there's more of them than there was of those people. So they're going to run out of time and somebody's going to get some mouth. And again, with Bob's assessment earlier about people are complaining about doing not smart things, that girl was like, can we use this to freeze that and get it fucking off? Like, that's smart.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Interesting.
screw people that are saying they're making dumb choices. First of all, come on, man, put yourself in their shoes. And we're probably going to make a couple dumb choices,
right. When you're not expecting this to be happening.
It's a high stress environment.
Yeah. Probably going to make some dumb calls.
I'll strain some movie logic. So, for that.
But Final Girl Rain came up with the idea to freeze the tail or freeze the back part of it and see if it unwraps. And of course it did. It was awesome. It was great she did that. And that's how they were able to pull the whole out of her mouth. But somebody, was it Ash? Sorry, Rook. Or was it Andy? Somebody said in a low voice, he said, yeah, but did it have time to complete its task?
Oh, yeah,
like he says that and nobody catches it and they got to head out. So we all know from the trailer, it's like, yeah, it had time to complete its task, of course,
So the next movie you'd want to see is what happened on that space station to get us to that point.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Now, that's
so maybe the next movie is called Alien Remus.
Oh, look at Jim. He coming up with look at that. You heard it here, folks. Wow. That's crazy. That's a good one.
So,
wow.
Yeah, I would I think this movie has a lot of rewatchability, I think, this Romulus.
Quick question though to you guys. So there's a xenomorph or something already on board then, right? Because the space station got trashed. There's acid in the floor where Rook was.
That's one of the unanswered questions, I think, is how did that happen?
Yeah.
Like, there's no queen there. That's why I asked you guys earlier about the life cycle. It's like, well, how did they get on that ship then?
Yeah, something went wrong somewhere because they have all the face huggers produced, hundreds of them it looks like, and they had a battle of something that had to do with a large xenomorph. It had to be, you know what I mean? It had to be because that hole in the floor that just went down. They were like, "Oh my god!"
I think this movie has a lot of rewatchability. I mean, again, if the callbacks bother you, it's something I think you can overlook and get by. And it was just because they were just a little bit too much.
When they're on the nose, they're on the nose.
A little less on the nose would have been. Would have bumped me up. I'm probably at like a 3.5 crates out of 5 on this. I think.
Oh, wow.
Somewhere in there, 3.5. 3.5. I've been struggling on that. I don't know. I'd recommend it, and I think it's fun. I think it's rewatchable. So, what do you guys think? What's your ratings? You guys are stunned?
No, I do 3.
I am, dude. I'm stunned because you're like me right now. You're kind of like you're positive in your words, and then you're like, yeah, but the overall. That's interesting.
It's definitely rewatchable. 3.5. A good entry into the canon.
Yeah, I think I'd say it's the third best out of all of them. Again, that's another, like, Aliens, Romulus. Oh boy. And then you get into 3 or Prometheus.
I almost take those Prometheus movies and set them aside.
I know.
Yeah, I can't though. I mean, I love Prometheus. That's in my I really do. I was one of the divisive people that I gotta side with it. I really do. I like the technology of it. That's why I like the world building of it. Oh, the engineers. Okay, that's new and stuff. I just do, but people are like, the one thing that I point out, it's not called Alien Prometheus, although some marketing somewhere is probably going to do that, like they did with Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. So they might do that, but it literally is just kind of its own thing, but it ties into it, Right. Somebody tie in LV-426, the aliens planet too. That's another story. Did the engineers just go off to different planets with their big ships and then something bad happens? Like there's a lot of questions. But back to crates, guys, I got to go with, I'm doing 4.5.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much. I loved its non-originality. Like I was on the edge of my seat for some scenes. I like the brother sister aspect.
Yeah,
I like the twist at the end.
Such a good.
Some of the characters I'm off put. You know what I mean? I didn't even have a problem with the Ash thing. And when the suspense ramped up, I was all for it. I was actually found myself holding my breath a couple times. So I'm a really big proponent of it. I probably am going to put it before. Now, hold on. First of all, disclaimer, folks. I'm a huge fan of Aliens. It has the most iconic lines, and it's just in its own category.
And the three of us saw it together back in the day.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that, like, come on. But I love the horror aspect of this tying into Alien. That's why it's so high up the charts for me. It's a tense filled kind of, that's what I wanted out of this movie, and I got it. So that's why I'm at 4.
All right, fellas.
4 crates for Mark here.
4 for Mark, 3.5 for Jim and Bob.
It's fun. Go see
Mark
it.
it down. Mark it down.
Yeah.
It's a good. It's fun. It's fun.
It's fun afternoon at the movies for certain.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think it deserves all the blasting it's getting. Here and
no,
there,
I agree. 100%. We agree on that. All right, Bob, take us out.
Yep. Thanks everyone for watching our episode. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook. Our Instagram is taken off a little bit. We're trying to get it going, and it's almost hit 400 followers. People, hey,
nice.
What do you guys say about that? We're getting there.
That's all Bob's work, by the way.
That's Bob's work. Yeah, I
It's
just
pretty
recently kind of got into posting stuff on there, so
Just post things we like, things we collect, things we own.
Yeah.
Just sharing our stuff.
Yeah.
So check it out on Instagram, the Fandom Outpost. And please like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We'd really appreciate support there. And comment. We'd love to interact and talk about what we talked about today in our episode. And join us next time for whatever we come up with next time. I'm not sure what it'll be, but we'll come up with something.
Right. All right, we're going to be done here. Boom.